animals are different, and understanding their language takes time and patience. Sometimes you just want something quick, and a lot of people get confused about how exactly to go about finding animals that have a language in common. Can birds of different species talk to each other? The new species of talking birds that interact with other bird species have been discovered by scientists. These birds are the first ever to be found that can imitate the sounds of other bird species and make a variety of sounds. This discovery is significant because it shows that birds are capable of learning and adapting their vocalizations to suit different environments. It also suggests that there may be more bird species out there that we haven't discovered yet. These new talking birds are a part of the existing avian family, which includes songbirds, parrots, hummingbirds, woodpeckers, sparrows, and kiwis. They were found in Madagascar, and they were able to imitate the sound of two different bird species, the brown-headed nuthatch and red-fronted brown lemur. The new species of talking birds that interact with other bird species are called the zebra finch. They are a type of zebra finch that have been bred to be friendly and talk to humans. Zebra finches were first discovered in 1980 by a scientist named Peter Grant. The zebra finch is one of the many types of birds that have been developed by scientists to help humans understand animal behavior better. So, can birds of different species talk to each other? Yes, birds of different species can talk to each other. In fact, some bird species have been observed to be able to produce and understand the calls of other species. This is because these birds have a good understanding of how sound works. Birds have a wide range of vocalizations and have been found to be able to recognize each other's calls. In the last few years, scientists have discovered that birds can understand human language. They are able to identify the words that we use, like hello and goodbye. They also demonstrate this ability in songbirds, who learn their songs by listening to their parents' calls. We know that some birds can communicate with each other, but what about other species? This is a question that has been debated for many years. Some say that different species of birds cannot communicate with each other, while others believe they can. Some studies have shown that there are specific types of sounds and calls that only certain species of birds can produce. This means they are not able to understand the calls or sounds made by another species. This makes sense because it would be difficult for them to learn a new language. What does the study show about how birds can talk to each other with their own language? Birds have been known to talk to each other and even to humans, but scientists had a hard time figuring out what they were saying. Now, researchers have discovered that birds use a unique language that is unlike any other. In order to understand the language of birds, scientists studied how they interacted with each other and used this information to decipher their speech patterns. They found that the birds use specific calls in order to communicate with one another, and these calls are used in various contexts. For example, when one bird is injured, it will call for help from its flockmates. The study revealed that birds are able to create their own language without any human intervention or help from their parents. It also showed that their vocalizations can be used for many different purposes, such as finding food or warning about predators. What is the scientific explanation behind how birds communicate with each other? Birds communicate with each other using a variety of vocal and visual cues. Some birds have different calls for different purposes. The calls are used to identify the species, warn of predators, or attract mates. Birds use a number of tactics to communicate with each other. They have the ability to change their color, shape, and sound when they are communicating. Birds also use different vocalizations to convey information about their moods and intentions. For example, a bird might chirp as it approaches another bird in order to say hello, or warn that it is going to attack the other bird. What are the best ways to experience bird language? There are many ways to experience bird language. Some of them are more practical than others. Some people have a bird feeder in their garden and enjoy watching the birds come by and eat the food they put out for them. Others like to take a walk outside and listen to what the birds are saying. You can go on a bird watching trip, read books, watch documentaries, or even watch birds in the wild. The best way to experience bird language is through the eyes of a bird. It is important to understand that birds are not just looking at you and waiting for you to feed them. They have their own lives and they will act differently depending on what they need or want from you. You should also know that there are many different species of birds in the world, and each one has its own language. 5 interesting facts about bird language that you probably didn't know. In the wild, birds can make up to 300 different sounds. The most common sound made by a bird is the chirp. Birds are able to recognize individual humans and their faces. A bird's song is created from its own DNA. Birds have about 10,000 different sounds for their songs, which is more than the number of words in the English language. 2. Birds have a wide variety of calls and vocalizations that they use to communicate with each other and with other species. 3. The primary form of communication between birds is through sound, including songs and calls. 4. The first bird song was recorded by Charles Darwin in his book The Descent of Man. 5. Some birds are able to mimic human speech patterns. How do humans communicate with birds and get their attention? Humans have been communicating with birds for centuries. They use different methods to get the attention of birds and to communicate with them. Some of the methods that humans use to communicate with birds are: using a whistle, using a mirror, using a flashlight, making noise, attracting the bird with food. It is not uncommon for people to use whistles, singing, banging pots and pans, and playing music in order to get the bird's attention. But how do humans get the attention of these birds? There are different theories about how humans can get the attention of these birds. One theory is that humans make a lot of noise by beating their wings or by making calls. Another theory is that humans give out food to attract the bird's attention. The weird way birds react to human speech and what it means for us. It is common knowledge that birds react to human speech. However, scientists have recently discovered that the birds are reacting to our words in a unique way. When we speak, we produce vibrations in the air which travel through the environment and enter their ears. These vibrations cause the birds to move their wings rapidly and fluff up their feathers in order to block out the noise. The study revealed that these reactions are not just instinctive, but also intentional because they take place even when no human is present. This means that birds have developed a way of communicating with humans without any other living thing around them. Birds have a special sense of hearing that is sensitive to the quietest of sounds. So, when humans speak, they can hear it too. This ability gives them an edge in the bird world, where their natural predators are other birds. Birds are also able to hear the subtle changes in pitch and volume that humans use when speaking. The bird's hearing is so sensitive that they can even detect how much force a human is using when he or she speaks. What are the best ways of talking with a bird in the forest or sky? There are many ways of talking with a bird. The most common way is to whistle in a specific pitch. Some other methods include miming or telling stories about birds. There are also some more complicated methods like following the bird and then talking to it when you catch up. In order to be able to communicate with a bird, it is essential that the speaker uses their voice in the same way as they use the sounds of their own language. The following are some of the best ways of talking with a bird: singing songs and humming tunes, making sounds like cawing or tweeting, making calls in different tones and pitches, speaking slowly and quietly so as not to frighten them away. Conclusion: can birds of different species talk to each other? Yes. Birds of different species can talk to each other. Even other animals like dogs and cats also have the ability to communicate with each other.